Today we're exploring a side of America you might not know exists. We're talking about states so empty, you could drive for hours without seeing another soul. Buckle up as we dive into the least populated corners of the USA. The Pine Tree State. Let's kick things off with Maine, the northeasternmost state. It's a place of rugged beauty, with 3,478 miles of jaw-dropping coastline and forests that seem to go on forever. But here's the kicker, only 1.3 million people call it home. Why so few? Well, for starters, Maine's winters are no joke. We're talking bone-chilling cold that'll freeze your eyelashes. Most Mainers huddle in the southern part of the state, leaving vast swaths of land to the moose and black bears. Did you know Maine is the most rural state in the country? A whopping 61.3% of its population lives in rural areas. And get this, it's also the oldest state by median age. Seems like only the toughest stick around. Big sky country. Next up, we've got Montana. This state is massive, we're talking bigger than Japan. But despite all that space, only 1.1 million people live here. That's fewer folks than in the city of San Jose, California. You'd think with all those mountains and prairies, cowboys would be lining up to live here. But here's the deal, young people today want city life, and Montana's biggest city, Billings, barely scrapes 100,000 residents. Plus, Montana's weather is extreme. Some parts see snow year-round. And let's not forget about the wind. It's so windy, some towns have to chain down their garbage cans. The Ocean State. Now, let's switch gears and talk about Rhode Island. It's tiny, you could fit 425 Rhode Islands in Montana. But despite its size, it packs in 1.1 million people. That makes it the second most densely populated state after New Jersey. So why is it on our list? Well, Rhode Island's population is actually shrinking. Living there costs an arm and a leg, and many folks are moving out in search of cheaper pastures. Plus, everything Rhode Island does, its neighbors seem to do better. The corporate haven. Delaware's another small state with a twist. It's home to over 2 million corporations but only about 1 million people. What gives? 2 words, tax loopholes. Companies set up shop in Delaware for the sweet tax benefits, but they don't actually bring many jobs with them. It's like having a bunch of empty office buildings with Delaware addresses. On the bright side, Delaware's beaches are pretty nice. Retirees are moving in, drawn by the lack of sales tax and the laid-back coastal vibe. The Dakotas. Now let's head to the heart of America, the Dakotas. First up, South Dakota. Its claim to fame? Mount Rushmore and Wall Drug. If you've ever driven through, you know what I'm talking about. Those Wall Drug billboards are everywhere. But besides these attractions, South Dakota is pretty empty. It's got just under 1 million residents spread across a state larger than Ireland. North Dakota's even emptier and colder. It's so isolated that back in the day, some settlers chose to keep going north into Canada rather than stop here. Talk about a tough sell. The last frontier. Now we're getting to the really empty stuff. Alaska is the big kahuna of empty states. It's unbelievably huge, you could fit Texas, California, and Montana inside it and still have room left over. But living in Alaska? That's not for the faint of heart. We're talking temperatures that can plummet to 40 below zero, months of near-total darkness in winter, and places so remote you can only reach them by plane or boat. No wonder only about 733,000 hardy souls call Alaska home. That's fewer people than the city of Fort Worth, Texas. The Green Mountain State. Vermont's a different kind of empty. It's small but oh so rural. Picture cozy farmhouses, maple syrup taps on trees, and hillsides blazing with autumn colors. Sounds idyllic, right? Well, only about 647,000 people agree. That's fewer residents than the city of Portland, Oregon. But here's an interesting twist. Vermont's becoming popular with city folks looking for a change of pace. Who knows, it might not stay this empty for long. The Cowboy State. Finally, we've got Wyoming, the least populated state in the Union. It's home to just 581,000 people. To put that in perspective, more people live in Tucson, Arizona. Wyoming's beautiful, with Yellowstone National Park and the Grand Tetons. But job opportunities? Not so much. Unless you work for the government, or in the energy sector, pickings can be slim. But you know what? That emptiness is part of Wyoming's charm. Where else can you see herds of wild horses running free across the prairie? So, why are these states so sparsely populated? It boils down to a few key factors. 1. Harsh climates, brutal winters, and scorching summers aren't everyone's cup of tea. 2. Isolation. Many of these states are far from major urban centers. 3. Limited job opportunities. Big cities tend to have more diverse job markets. 4. Rough terrain. Mountains and forests are beautiful, but they're not easy to build on. But you know what? That emptiness is part of what makes these states special. They offer something rare in our busy, crowded world: space to breathe and nature untamed. In these states, you can still find dark skies perfect for stargazing. You can drive for hours without seeing another car. You can hike for days without crossing paths with another soul. If you enjoyed this tour of America's emptiest states, hit that like button and subscribe for more geographic gems. And hey, let me know in the comments, which of these states would you brave living in?